how I started coffee. Maybe I went to cafe less than 5 times in my life. Struggle time, I wasn't really care about it. The best moment of the life.
Okay, so the first question for David is how did you first get into coffee?
Yeah.
So
Good
generic, I
question.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, I answered this question many times, but I still like this question because when I answer this question number of times, I think back and how I started more exactly, and it becomes more clear how I start and what I want to do, that kind of
Yeah,
time period. I can remind that. So yeah,
yeah.
it is a good question. So how I started coffee.
Mhm.
So it was back in 2010. I was in school. That was my second year of astronomy. Yeah, it was my second year, March. After I studied 1 year in astronomy, I feel like I'm not gonna be a leading person in this field. First of all, I've been in astronomy for a long time since when I was a kid,
Mhm.
and I finally get into the astronomy as my major, and
Yeah.
then I realized I like it, but I wasn't confident to become a successful professional in this field. So I was
Mhm.
trying to find different things that I can change my life path. So astronomy is math and physics
Mhm.
mostly, and that's what I've learned all in high school and the first year of the astronomy. So I tried to find something very different. That very different means something relying on human sense. At that time, I was considering wine industry. Beer is not popular in Korea at that time.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
so wine, bartender, cocktail industry, and then coffee. Those three was an option. And the wine and cocktail has a longer history compared to coffee. And this specialty coffee industry or modern coffee industry is just started less than a decade in Korea. So it was kind of new industry. I was attracted by become someone in the very early stage of the industry. So that's how I
Mhm.
start coffee. I didn't start from the coffee lover or
Yeah.
coffee drinker. Honestly, until I start jumping into coffee, maybe I went to cafe less than 5 times in my life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, very fresh palate.
Yeah.
Yeah, no experience, and I just decided to yeah being in the coffee industry and start career.
Yeah, you just jump right
Yeah,
in.
some
Hey.
training.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do that. They just start out as a barista and then they kind of get more interested in it while you're working in the career.
Yeah.
But what was the moment when you knew, like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Um, it was one of the tasting session. Until that tasting event, I never tasted really good coffee. But one of the coffee literally tastes like peach and
Yeah.
plum. Like
Wow.
so it tastes like juice. I forgot what coffee it was, and I didn't know about the processing method at that time. I had
Yeah.
no idea what I'm drinking, but the taste was so nice.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was the moment that I really wanted to jump in and know more about the coffee.
Like throughout this time, when you first started in Korea and then your journey to coming to Canada, what are some of like the main struggles that you remember throughout your coffee career, and how did you kind of overcome them?
There are many. There are so many, but
Yeah.
I can say struggle time. Maybe I can pick two
Two.
out
Okay.
of many. Yeah, first one was when I was in Korea, and second one when I was in Canada. I think it's kind of balancing out the two different environments.
Yeah.
So when I was in Korea, the main reason I decided to move to Canada was because all the information is leaded by
Mhm.
European coffee scene and uh, U.S. coffee scene. Makes me where I should be. It's more like uh, I'm not blaming all the informations are published in English. I think it's really what European coffee scene and US coffee scene done really well, because
Yeah.
they were kind of like pioneer in the new wave coffee, and they did lots of researches, and they travel and they established what people call third wave coffee,
Right.
and that's what they've done
Mhm.
firsthand, and it's kind of natural that all the publications are in English. But the young coffee professional in Korea, like I
Mhm.
always kind of get the information, get the second-handed information. I was kind of relying on people who travel to US or Europe classes and their training course, and when they are coming back to Korea, then I try to learn from them, because they learn the newest knowledge and skills from other countries outside of Korea. So the the thing that I was struggle was like, I want to become a first person who
Mhm.
learn, and I want to do some research from me, not just learning from other people. But the information and the knowledge in Korea was like so limited, and it was kind of hard to meet those people. That was the biggest struggle when I was in Korea. So that uh, made me decide to move to those scene. So yeah, I decided to move myself to that environment, not
Yeah.
trying to, not just waiting the information from them. Yeah. So
Right.
that was the
Yeah.
first struggle part, and it becomes, it uh, kind of helped me to move outside of Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And like the language barrier too. That
Yeah.
must have been like a huge struggle as well.
It wasn't a huge
Yeah.
struggle for, it was definitely a struggle, but it wasn't the biggest problem when I first came in Canada. Obviously, my English is not like good as people who born and raised in Canada, obviously.
Mhm.
But in the language part, I wasn't really care about it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like my personality related.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the one thing that I spent the most time was like translating my knowledge in Korean to the English. Yeah, for example, like coffee was so easy, because like even when I was in Korea, I learned
Mhm.
coffee in English.
Oh.
So all the terms and how to describe coffee, all the descriptions, and how
Yeah.
to explaining like factors, or when you pull the espresso shot, all the variables. I learned all of those in English anyway.
Oh.
So like coffee in Canada, there was almost no language barrier,
Mhm.
but the language barrier was in how I explain some data to other people. So
Right.
like as soon as I came to Canada, I realized like making coffee is basically databases. Like you
Mhm.
collect the data from your each brewing, and then you analyzing what kind of variable impacts to the flavor, or what kind of variable impact to the other variables. So like those parts are not what I've learned in English. It's like I learned
Yeah.
those like math and physics in Korean. Like
Right.
we still learn like some terms in English, but mostly the concept and knowledge is I learned from learned in Korean. So
Mhm.
translating those languages in English was kind of barrier,
Mhm.
but yeah, it was barrier. But I rather just like show my data and explain it like with English, like kind of broken English. But when people see the numbers, it's easy to communicate, because they know what these numbers mean, and they
Mhm.
know what I'm talking based on the numbers. So
Mhm.
yeah, there was like small language barrier.
What's your favorite role? Because I know you've been a barista, roaster, competitor. You know.
Yeah, I I like competitors' role. It is not
Mhm.
a job, but definitely it is not same as barista role in the real life cafe. So competition is more artistic
Yeah.
compared to creating the recipe. So recipe is all data based,
Yeah.
and you always need to calculate numbers and you try to hit the target. But competition and serving coffee at the competition stage is more close to art side, and I really like to bring my other interest into the stage. So my
Mhm.
favorite role so far is competitor.
Does it give you a lot of stress because you know you only have a certain amount of time to compete? Because it sounds like that's like your place to shine. Like you love that kind of
Yeah,
high stress environment.
yeah. I get high stress until I get ready.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So that's what I do during the practice time. Like
Yeah.
I so there are a few stages in competition
Mhm.
from start planning to being on the stage.
Mhm.
So the first part is make a concept, what kind of theme I want to present in the competition, and then once that is done, then do build up the technical parts,
Mhm.
basically measuring how many seconds that I need to spend for making a shot and how many seconds that requires me to spend for each movement. So
Right.
make a efficient move as like technically efficient move is
Yeah.
that the second part, and then obviously adjusting the theme on this limited time,
Yeah.
and then do all these preps and then start practice. So this practice time is the time that I'm most stressed about because yeah, like what I'm doing is like very simple, just repeating dry run, like 15-minute dry run over and over again. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then once I feel I'm ready during this practice period,
Yeah.
and then since that moment until being on the stage is the best moment of the life. Yeah,
Wow.
even
Yeah.
during the like dry run session, like if I'm happy, it's like some dry runs goes not good and some
Mhm.
dry run goes really good, and some dry run has like I mean good coffee, but some dry run I did really good presentation, but coffee didn't taste good.
Mhm.
There are many things happen during that time, but
Yeah.
still I know I'm ready, and coffee taste is all up to the competition day. Like coffee taste in the practice period time doesn't really matter. It doesn't score. The coffee flavor at the competition stage is the most important time.
Mhm.
So I'm not really stressed about that part. I know it's gonna be fixed, and I know I have time to
Mhm.
adjust small things. So like that is the great time. So on the competition day, if something not goes wrong, I'm not really stressed out. Like yeah, if I maybe I get stressed when my luggage is lost during the flights, then
Oh
this would be like
no.
crazy. Yeah,
Has that?
that happened one time when I
Yeah.
competed in New York Coffee Masters. So it is a New York trip and everything is kind of expensive. So I made a really tight schedule.
Mm.
So I arrived New York 2 days, no, a day before the day one of competition. So my luggage wasn't arrived. So yeah,
Oh.
so I have to buy everything in
Yeah.
New York. Yeah, first of all, like spending money at the competition travel is kind of I don't have like good sense. I just buy whatever I need to buy.
Mhm.
So like that wasn't really stressing me, but like finding the ingredients is the biggest part because I bring all the ingredients and pre-made portions to New York. But I right now I it's my first time in New York, and
Yeah.
I need to find all of these ingredients and tools. So that was kind of stressful, but other other than that, the competition itself doesn't stress me out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, through all of this, all of the experience, what are some of the best resources that kind of have helped you along the way in your career?
There are many, but I can pick like three things.
Mhm.
Yeah, the first thing is the conversations with coworkers and friends.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be the coffee related conversation, but even just random conversations sometimes give me idea to I can apply on coffee side.
Yeah.
So the conversation is like definitely the biggest resource. Travels,
Traveling. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. When I travel, like most of my
Yeah.
travels are competition travels for the last like 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, my just travel for vacation, relaxing travel was the last one was 2015. Yeah, that was the last time I traveled for just having fun and relax.
Um,
But still, travel is always a good resource, and it
mhm.
changed like many things in my mindset and my thought processes. So my travels are mostly go to a bar or
Mhm.
restaurant, art gallery, museum. Those four are pretty much all I do,
Mhm.
and lots of walking. Yeah, I always walk around. I
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have driver license here, and I haven't driving for I think 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, including all the times.
Yeah.
But definitely when I travel, I'm already walking a lot in Calgary, but when I travel, I walk more than usual because like it gives me like it gives me time to think about something. Yeah, if I take bus or taxi or if I have like subway to move somewhere, like
Yeah.
I do when I have to, but in that time it was hard to think about like something. I feel like the time from one spot to the other spot is too short,
Mhm.
so it doesn't have enough time to think something and kind of brainstorming during that time. But when I'm walking one spot to the other spot, then it gives me at least like 30 minutes to think about something. Like even if I don't have like specific topic
Mhm.
at the beginning, it naturally gives me like something to think about while
Yeah.
I'm walking and just seeing around the landscape.
Yeah.
So travel allows me more time to do that.
Yeah.
And bar, restaurant, art gallery, museums are for the same reason I do those four things.
Mhm.
It's all about so bar and restaurant is kind of similar.
Mhm.
Bar and restaurant give a good service experience,
Yeah.
and I try to learn how they treat customers. And from the moment that I arrive to the front door, and when I open the door and walk into the space and have dinner or drinks, and until I left the space, I
Yeah.
try to understand my feeling, how I feeling, what kind of aspects that makes me excited, and what makes me feel exciting excited inside of the space, and why I'm so happy during this time, or
Mhm.
sometimes it's not, there's some good, bad experiences and why I'm feeling this way. So
Right.
learn experiencing that kind of process is gives me lots of idea that I can apply on competition and in the future cafe. So
Yeah.
that's why I do both. But these days I prefer bar experience
Mhm.
because coffee is liquid form beverage and food is solid form. So I realized like what I expect from food and drink in terms of flavor profile is quite different.
Right.
So I go to bar more often to see liquid form like beverages experiences. Yeah, and
Right.
the other two things, art gallery and museums, are to just learn uh, non flavor experiences.
Mhm.
So like art gallery and museum, like there are so many, and I have no background knowledge on art and uh, art and other like histories,
Yeah.
but still go to those places and expose myself to well built environment is some unique experience, because they're when they're creating one chamber or other, like they, if you go to art gallery, they have different sections and
Yeah.
different rooms, and they build those rooms and different sections intentionally, and they play music, they change their light brightness for some reason. So
Yeah.
so when I go to art galleries and museums, what I'm doing is, of course, I'm enjoying what I'm looking at,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I try to like capture those like concepts of how to create the environment. So yeah,
Yeah.
travel is definitely one source. Yeah.
Well-
Oh yeah, one of the motivation, not motivation, one of the resource to create the
Yeah.
Paradigm Spark is actually I captured the idea from the uh, music band called Snarky Puppy.
Mhm.
Yeah, so they're big band. They have like more than 20 instrument players are in a band, and
Yeah.
each people have running their own bands. Like as some band members are running their own project as a main and just join the Snarky Puppy as the side project.
Yeah.
And some they're definitely core member, but they have like more players around who comes in and out. And
Okay.
yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Yeah, that gave me idea of how to solve the current problems that barista has,
Mhm.
high turnover time. Maybe I can solve this problem by taking the concept of how
Right.
they manage their group.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
for Paradigm Spark, definitely that helped me to spark the idea how we can change those current problems. Yeah,
Yeah.
those three things are the biggest resource.
Wow. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I think it's really important to pull aspects from different industries.
Yeah.
And coming together at Paradigm Spark, I think both David and I have very different backgrounds too,
Yeah.
that we can pull from different resources to create something amazing, hopefully.
Yeah.
So I think the critical thing here at Paradigm Spark is to think critically and think about how we can apply things that we won't even think about
Yeah.
into our projects. And yeah.
Yeah, and we are going to collaborate with other professionals,
Mhm.
not just in coffee. Of course, it is a coffee focused company, but we try to have some collaboration with other creators outside of coffee too, because
Mhm.
we can learn from them and we can hear like what kind of problem they have in their own industry, and
Yeah.
maybe we can get some idea that we can apply to the coffee industry too.
Yeah.
So yeah, like meeting people and have conversation and understand them will be a huge resource for Paradigm Spark.
Yeah.
And that's why we try to make lots of collaborations in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited to what we can do
Me too.
with
Me
other
too.
people. Yeah, and I have so many ideas that if I work with like this person,
Yeah.
then I can do like this things. I have like a list of things
Yeah.
for different
Different people.
people already. Like
Yeah.
I wish we can make
Mhm.
things happen. It'll be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.